Welcome back to Fast Freddy RC, and today we're going to start the build process of the Tamiya Toyota Hilux Extra Cab on the CC01 chassis. Now, I do think this car looks super cool, and incidentally, it was the last vehicle to be built on the CC01 chassis. So I think this is going to be super cool. So if we turn to step 1, we're going to be working with the motor right away. So I'm going to pull all these parts together and we'll get started on this step. So I've pulled everything together. We've got our screws, the grub screw, the pinion gear. There is an optional one, but I'm going to stick with the stock one that the kit comes with. We've got our motor plate, and then of course we've got this, which is going to fit into the chassis. And we have this piece here, which is going to actually help with placing the pinion. So if we grab our motor, we need to put on our motor plate, and you can see the alignment there. So if I grab this and put this on, just push it into place, line it up with those holes. There we go. Then the next thing is we've got to put on the pinion. Well, the way I like to do this is I will put the grub screw into the Allen key. I will then get it started into the pinion. There we go. That way it just makes it a little easier to put on. And of course, you've got the flat spot on the motor. So again, I want to put that on and lock it in enough that the grub screw isn't going to spin all the way around. So if I stick this in and start to screw it down, there we go. So it's on enough that it's sitting on the flat, which you need. So then we've got this, which is going to help with the placement. So if we put this over top, you can see that it needs to sit as far down as possible, but the pinion needs to come up right to the end of this. If I look at, just to make sure that's correct. Yes, it is. So now I can start screwing that in, because now we know that that's in the right placement. See how that pinion's right resting on the end of this? We now know that we can screw this down all the way and know that's in the correct place. So I took the cap off and I've really tightened it here. So you can see that where there's not much of a gap there, but this really helps to make sure that you get the placement of the pinion on properly. So we can now move on to the next step. Now you can see that with this piece, in terms of the design, you've got the 4 holes, and you're going to want it facing this way so that you see the little triangle pieces that you see there, because you can see this way you don't have any of that, it's just flat. So as you can see, we're going to use the one that it came with, which is a 16 tooth pinion, and you can see that for the 16 we need to go the top one, and it's going to go onto this side here, which we can start to screw in. And then we've got our other screw, same thing, but now we're going to be placing it in the bottom hole on the left hand side, and we'll screw that in. So depending on what pinion you use, it's going to determine how that's going to be placed into the motor. But that is what it looks like. So if I tighten this up now that we know that that's where we want it, that is how this is going to look for step 1. So that step is complete. So now we're going to move on to step 2, which is working on the front differential.